the drum. Commanders, bring your units to attention and present arms for the Mayor of Somerville and city officials.
Rhode Island, present. Ha!
Present. Commanders, bring your units to order arms and parade rest and pay attention to the podium.
Welcome, everyone, and Happy New Year. Welcome to all of you. I see a lot of flags here today. Thank you for being here. I can't believe that 1775 has come to an end already. I'm still writing 75 on my checks, but here we are in 1776. It is my honor to welcome you all here today to celebrate the historic raising of the flag of the United States, which was first flown here in 1776. And with us today, 248 years later, are representatives of military organizations and members that served during the Siege of Boston and witnessed the first flag raising on January 1st, 1776. Massachusetts and Rhode Island colonial militias, the Ancient and Honorable Artillery Company of Massachusetts, and Her Majesty's 10th Regiment of Foot. And without further ado, I would like to introduce Somerville's Mayor, Katjana Ballantyne.
Thank you, Councillor Ewan Campen. Good morning, all. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
I'd like to also acknowledge some of our electeds who are with us here today. Councillor at Large Kristen Strezzo, Councillor at Large elect Willem Baugh. Thank you. Thank you for joining us here today on this New Year's Day morning to bring life and celebrate Somerville's history. It is such a unique and beautiful way to start a new year by honoring the courage and ideals of the past and reflect on how they can help shape us in the present. 248 years ago on New Year's Day, 1776, General George Washington and the Continental Army raised the nation's first official flag atop Prospect Hill. The flag that flew proudly on that January morning was a symbol of unity, determination, and the audacious pursuit of freedom. Today, as we raise the Grand Union flag once again, we pay homage to the sacrifices of those who came before us. Their courage, resilience, and unwavering commitment to the ideals of liberty laid the foundation for the country we call home, and continue to be a guiding light as we face the challenges of our modern nation. Today's flag raising reminds us that even in our darkest hours, a beacon of hope can shine brightly, guiding us towards a future defined by justice, freedom, and equality. As we head into 2024, I encourage all of you to keep the Grand Union flag waving in your hearts and minds. I hope it can serve as an inspiration to all of us to work collaboratively to transcend divisions and embrace the diversity that makes our community and our nation strong. Thank you for joining me on this momentous occasion, and may the Grand Union flag continue to symbolize the enduring spirit of the American people. Happy New Year to all.
Yay! Woo! Hooray!
Thank you.
Next up, I'd like to introduce Captain Tom Coots, Charlestown Militia.
Thank you. Good morning. On behalf of the Charlestown Militia Company of Gardiner's Regiment, I bring greetings to the good people of Somerville, or as we like to say, the good people of Charlestown, 1776. We celebrate this annual event not just to commemorate the raising of this grand Union flag, but to remember the heroic events that led up to this historic occasion. For without those events, we would not be here today. The rebellion of the colonies began on April 18, 1775, when a British expedition left Boston to search for arms and ammunition in Concord. During that night and early into the next morning of April 19th, more than 30 riders from Charlestown left to sound the alarm throughout our countryside. By the end of that day, nearly 20,000 militia had responded to the call, and the first shots of the American Revolution had been fired. The British Army was now besieged in Boston, and if they wished to retain their control, they needed to take possession of a commanding height that dominated Boston. That was Bunker Hill. On June 14, 1775, General Artemus Ward, General Israel Putnam, Colonel John Stark, and Colonel William Prescott met in a war council in Cambridge. The outcome was on June 16th to march 1,200 men from Cambridge Common to Bunker Hill. Upon their arrival, Prescott realized that building a fortification on Bunker Hill was not going to do any good. He instead decided to fortify Breed's Hill, where a redoubt would be visible to the British from Boston. By dawn of that morning, the British realized that the colonial forces had taken up a menacing position and immediately began preparations to dislodge Colonel Prescott and his men. The British troops were now provoked to action. Meanwhile, back in Cambridge, General Artemus Ward feared a second landing would take place at Lechmere Point. He so ordered Colonel Thomas Gardiner's regiment and the men from Charlestown to occupy Lechmere Point. By the afternoon of June 17th, the British intentions were truly revealed. Colonel Gardiner recognized that the major attack was on Breed's Hill, and Gardiner and his men vacated Lechmere Point and marched across Charlestown Neck to the Charlestown Peninsula. Gardiner arrived at the top of Bunker Hill with his regiment, which was made up of 10 companies of men, and met by General Putnam. 2 of his companies were sent to the wall down by the Mystic River, where the fiercest of fighting had taken place. Putnam held 1 company to defend the path across Bunker Hill. At this point, the redoubt was attacked by British regulars for the 3rd and final time, inflicting devastating casualties to the British. The first 2 assaults had been repulsed by colonial forces. Now, almost out of powder and ball and suffering hundreds of casualties, the colonial forces had an orderly retreat from Breed's Hill. The Charlestown Militia Company of Gardiner's Regiment provided that orderly retreat. They then left and came here to these heights. Gardiner, along with his men, continued on to Prospect Hill. Gardiner was sadly wounded that day and died, but his men remained here throughout March of 1776. By December of 1775, the siege of Boston had gone on for 8 long months without any conclusion. Many of the enlistments would have ended on December 31st. Soldiers had not been paid and they wanted to return home. Morale was at its lowest. However, in 1 short month, everything changed. General George Washington reorganized the local militia into the Continental Army. After Washington's retreat, a new flag had arrived. He directed that that flag be flown at the most visible point of fortifications, here on Prospect Hill. On January 1st, 1776, General George Washington had the grand Union flag raised at the most visible point of all fortifications, here at Prospect Hill. This was done under the watchful eyes and guardianship of the men from Gardiner's Regiment. And today, we, the members of Gardiner's Regiment, proudly participate in this annual event. Thank you.
Next, I'd like to introduce from the Rhode Island Militia, Colonel Richard Sherkia.
Thank you. I'm Colonel Richard Shereka, a past commander of the Kentish Guards, an elite militia company from Kent County, Rhode Island, and Nathaniel Green's home unit, where he served as a private. Accompanying today is Colonel Theo Ashman, the current commander of the Kentish Guards, and also the Varnum Continentals, led by Colonel Joanne Breslin, their current commander. Colonel James Varnum was the first commander of the Kentish Guards when they were formed in 1774. He became the commander of the Kent and Kings County regiments, one of the 3 regiments raised by the Rhode Island Colonial Assembly to aid the Patriots in the siege of Boston, with Nathaniel Greene elected their general commanding the 3 regiments. General George Washington took command of this fledgling army here on January 3rd, 1775. He wrote that everywhere there was insubordination in the militia, over-imbued with the spirit of liberty. But when he visited the camp of the Rhode Island regiments, he noted that here was order and discipline, down to the tent pegs. He placed Brigadier General Nathaniel Greene in charge of Prospect Hill, the headquarters and stronghold of the American line, here with 4,000 American troops. And why were Rhode Island troops better organized at this moment in history? Massachusetts did not lack for strong and brave men. Massachusetts did not lack for able and experienced leaders. The problem lay with your having a royal governor, which Rhode Island did not have, and an army of occupation trying to seize your weapons, your ammunition, and arrest your leaders. The solution, my friends, is simple. Get rid of your royal governor and his oppressive army. Be of good courage. General Greene was instrumental in training the free-spirited militia here into an effective Continental Army units. But many of their enlistments would expire on December 31st, 1775. Would there be an American Army in 1776? On December 1st, 1776, under General George Washington's leadership, the Continental Army was re-enlisted, which would mean the American struggle for independence would survive. And at this moment, the Grand Union flag was raised before the Army and in the face of the British opponents. And so this great moment here, it's a pivotal moment in American history for the Continental Army and for American independence. Thank you.
Huzzah!
All right, get ready to boo, because now I have to introduce representatives of the British forces. But first, there's a song by the great David Scott.
Thanks a lot, Ben. I think he was trying to get you all to boo me. I had no part in this. So for our first musical selection, we are going to sing together, and I'm watching. If I see your lips not moving, I will know that you did not help. And I really need your help on this. You all know this song. This was the #1 hit of last year, 1775, on all streaming services. It's called Yankee Doodle. If you have one of these, it's got the lyrics on the back with all the verses. If you don't, you still have to join in on the chorus. It's required. This is part of your grade, people. Here we go.
Yankee Doodle, step it up, Yankee Doodle dandy. Mind the music and the step, and with the girls be handy. Father and I went down to camp, along with Captain Gooding, and there we see the men and boys as thick as hasty pudding. Yankee Doodle, keep it up, Yankee Doodle dandy. Mind the music and the step, and with the girls be handy. And there we see 1,000 men as rich as Squire David, and what they wasted every day I wish it had been saved. Yankee Doodle, keep it up, Yankee Doodle dandy. Mind the music and the step, and with the girls be handy. And there we see a swamping gun, large as a log of maple, upon a deuced little cart, a load for father's cattle. Yankee Doodle, keep it up, Yankee Doodle dandy. Mind the music and the step, and with the girls be handy. And every time they shoot it off, it takes a horn of powder and makes a noise like father's gun, only a nation louder. Yankee Doodle, keep it up, Yankee Doodle dandy. Mind the music and the step, and with the girls be handy. And there was Captain Washington and gentle folks about him. They say he's grown so tarnal proud he will not ride without them. Yankee Doodle, keep it up, Yankee Doodle dandy. Mind the music and the step, and with the girls, one more time. Yankee Doodle, keep it up, Yankee Doodle dandy. Mind the music and the step, and with the girls be handy. Right.
Thank you. And now on to the dastardly British. We are joined today by a representative of King George III, Colonel Paul O'Shaughnessy.
Actually, I'm going to defer for a moment. You haven't had your convocation from your minister. We have the president of Harvard College here, that den of sedition. And I think he has a word or two to say to you. Sir. Carry on.
So I can give you something proper to cheer. Let us think of the reason that impels us to this place. We stand upon this eminence in defiance of the arm of cruel oppression that is stretched out against our united colonies, invoking the favorable interposition of our eternal King, who directs all events for the restoration of the liberties which are the birthright of every freeborn in America. We have used our utmost endeavors to stand for our natural and constitutional rights in opposition to the machinations of wicked men who are betraying their royal master. Our King, as if impelled by some strange fatality, is resolved to reason with us only by the roar of his cannon and the pointed arguments of his muskets and bayonets, as were shown on the ever-memorable 17th of June last on the heights above Charlestown. Our late happy government was changed into the terrors of military execution. Our firm opposition to the establishment of an arbitrary system is called rebellion, and we are expected no mercy but by yielding property and life at discretion. This we are resolved at all events not to do, and therefore we have taken arms in our own defense, and all the colonies are united in the great cause of liberty. This day is sacred to that liberty, granted to us by the one true sovereign of mankind, Almighty God. A liberty boldly displayed in the unfurling of this banner, emblematical of the grand union of our colonies. May the Lord hear us on this day and defend us. May the God of Jacob send us help from his sanctuary and strengthen us. May we put on the whole armor of God and stand fast against our enemies. We will rejoice in his salvation, and in the name of our God, we will set up our banners and proclaim liberty across the land. May all who believe say amen.
Amen. Amen.
Hear, hear.
Thank you, Colonel.
Great job.
Well, wasn't that interesting? And now for an opposing viewpoint. Well done. By the way, we'll be dealing with him later. I bring with me a speech from His Majesty, just arrived by packet ship from London, And in it is his determination to see this rebellion to its end, to its successful conclusion for His Majesty's forces, but at the same time, lenity and forgiveness. This is a speech by His Majesty King George III, your true and proper monarch. And by the way, when his forces arrive in force here, your ministers will not save you. His most glorious speech to both houses of Parliament, Friday, the 27th of October of 1775. My lords and gentlemen, those who have successfully labored to inflame my people in America by gross misrepresentations and to infuse into their minds a system of opinions repugnant to the true constitution of the colonies and to their subordinate relation to Great Britain, now openly avow revolt, hostility, and rebellion. They have raised troops, they are collecting a naval force, and most importantly, they have seized the public revenue. Many of these unhappy people may still retain their loyalty, yet the torrent of violence has been strong enough to compel their acquiescence till a sufficient force shall appear to support them. The authors and promoters of this desperate conspiracy have meant only to amuse by vague expressions of attachment to the parent state and protestations of loyalty to me, all the whilst preparing for a general revolt. On our part, the resolutions of Parliament have breathed the spirit of moderation and forbearance. I have acted with the same temper, anxious to prevent the effusion of blood of my subjects and the calamities which are inseparable from a state of war, still hoping that my people in America will discern the traitorous views of their leaders. To be a subject of Great Britain with all of its consequences is to be the freest member of any civil society in the known world. Take his name. The rebellious war now levied has become more general and is manifestly carried on for the purpose of establishing an independent empire. I need not dwell upon the fatal effects of such a plan. The object is too important, the spirit of the British nation too high, the resources with which God hath blessed her too numerous, to give up so many colonies with which she had planted with great industry, nursed with great tenderness, encouraged with many commercial advantages, protected and defended at much expense of blood and treasure. When the unhappy and deluded multitude, that's you. When the unhappy and deluded multitude shall become sensible of their error, I shall be ready to receive the misled with tenderness and mercy. To remove as soon as possible the calamities which they suffer, I shall give authority to grant general pardons and particular indemnities, and to receive the submission of any province or colony which shall be disposed to return to its allegiance, and forgive as if such province or colony had never revolted. Now I ask you, have you not heard a more wonderful and lenient piece of literature in your lives? Gentlemen, I ask you, come on, bring it in. Right here. Come on, you know you want it. 3 cheers for His Majesty. Huzzah! I didn't hear you. Well, we'll see how this goes. How's the taxation with representation going to be?
Colonel,
Bye. Yes, sir.
you bring us this great speech from our former sovereign.
I do.
And yet, as I stand in front of the Ancient Honorable Artillery Company, I'm reminded of their motto, Facta non verba, deeds, not words. And as I listen to the words in their honeyed tones, so eloquently presented, I cannot help but notice the glint off the bayonets that surround you.
It's a tough crowd.
But is it not made so by the same forces that mount the bayonets, that surround you. If indeed your words are to move, aren't they to persuade? And isn't it not the fact that what draws us here today under our new flag and under General Washington is that desire, the desire of all free men and women to do just that, to be free, to suffer their own fate, and to, by the will of their own hands and their families and their communities, to build something new.
Well, the carrot does need a stick occasionally. You know how it is.
And to that point, you seek to take from us our very own sticks as well. Well then, sir, we shall see. But at the end of the day, it is better to suffer and to fight and to live as free people in a free land than as subjects of a foreign despot.
Well, we shall just see. It isn't over yet, sir. Very good. Thank you all.
I have a copy of the King's speech. What do you want to do with it?
Burn it!
Burn it. Document disposal detail post.
You're here.
Burn it. We have some opposition.
Drown them all.
Okay, you can dismiss your soldiers.
All right. Gentlemen, please return to ranks.
Turn to ring.
Well, now we've heard from our sponsor. Anyway, I'm Colonel Lawrence Wilworth, Commander of Troops and an honored member of the City of Somerville and the Ancient and Honorable Artillery Company. My presentation somehow may misplaced, but let's say, what does this all mean and why are we here today? By the time of December 1775, the siege of Boston had gone on for 8 long months. The volunteers, farmers, and citizens hadn't been paid, wanted to go home. There was smallpox and disease in the area, and their enlistments were up the end of December. How would it be possible to create a Continental Army from a militia army on January 1st? How many soldiers would re-enlist? How would it be possible to continue the struggle? His Majesty has certainly reminded us of the consequences of our actions. By January 1st, most of the soldiers had re-enlisted, and the disgruntled British citizen had been transformed into an independent American. In November, Henry Knox, with two other persons, managed, with authorization from General Washington, to go up to Fort Ticonderoga and bring 59 cannon and 60 tons of supplies back to Boston, 150 miles in the middle of winter. Amazingly, they arrived on the 22nd of January. In addition, Thomas Paine published Common Sense that made every citizen realize the value of their citizenship and liberty and independence. The soldiers that were re-enlisted, most of them re-enlisted. The cannon allowed George Washington to force the British out of Boston in March 1776, the first victory of the Continental Army. The feasibility of being able to stand up to the British, to be able to see the good words of Thomas Paine, made us realize that independence is a possibility. We are here today to celebrate that fact. In addition, the Ancient and Honorable Artillery Company, which goes back to 1636 and headquarters at Faneuil Hall, is here to honor two of its members that fought in the Revolution in behalf of all citizens. General William Heath, the 71st Captain Commandant of the Ancient and Honorable, was Washington's brigade commander and one of the trusted commanders. He also organized the attacks on the 19th of April. And of course, William Dawes, who helped spread the alarm, fought at Bunker Hill and was a major. We thank you today, and we thank all the militia participants for supporting this event. Thank you very much.
All right, for our next sing-along opportunity, we have a great American song of struggle by Pete Seeger. This is If I Had a Hammer. Please join me. My voice is a little tired from last night, so I need your help.
If I had a hammer, I'd hammer in the morning, I'd hammer in the evening, all over this land. I'd hammer out danger, I'd hammer out a warning, I'd hammer out love between my brothers and my sisters, all over this land. Ooh, if I had a bell, I'd ring it in the morning, I'd ring it in the evening, all over this land. I'd ring out danger, I'd ring out a warning, I'd ring out love between my brothers and my sisters, all over this land. Ooh, if I had a song, I'd sing it in the morning, I'd sing it in the evening, all over this land. I'd sing out danger, I'd sing out a warning, I'd sing out love between my brothers and my sisters, all over this land. Ooh, well, I've got a hammer, and I've got a bell, and I've got a song to sing all over this land. It's the hammer of justice, it's the bell of freedom, it's the song about love between my brothers and my sisters, all over this land. All right.
Thank you, David. And I want to acknowledge the demonstrators here today. Thank you all for being here. Now it is my honor to introduce our guest speaker today, Lieutenant General L. Scott Rice, a retired 40-year combat veteran, former Air National Guard commander, and Massachusetts Adjutant General. Ancestry dating to the 1600s with service in every American war since the American Revolution. He is currently leading Governor Healy's state emergency family shelter system. Welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben. Thank you. Thank you. I'd like to proudly come before you and say that I'm suffering from a war wound with my bad foot, but actually in the middle of the night going to the restroom, I just happened to fall on my foot and broke a bunch of bones. So nothing so dramatic, just causes me now to hobble around a little bit. It's amazing that I can do 40 years in service, be in combat almost a half dozen times, and come unscathed from that, and yet in the middle of the night just a couple weeks ago to fall on my foot. How sad it is. So thank you for asking me to be here and be a part, and thank you all for coming out. Mayor, very, very eloquent words, and I really appreciate the things you've said to us to remember. Because Today is a day of us to remember history. History builds a heritage in our heart for all the things that we hold dear. The heritage brings us together as a community made up of elected officials that are here with us, and I thank you for being a part. A heritage and a community that brings together not only the representatives of militia from Gloucester to Rhode Island, but also those from the King's Guard that are here as well, representing their part in our history that's built our heritage, that's built our culture, that's built our community. Captain Commanding, I thank you now for your service and this great company of the Ancient Honorables, and our Commander of Troops, Larry Wilworth, who's done this many, many times and is an expert at these events, and I thank you for you being a part. And please join me in a round of applause for somebody that brings the heart and soul of what I think is great, David Scott, as he's helped us sing some of these songs. Thank you very much. Thank you. So what I have to say is, we are a culture with history and heritage built around our flags. Our flags represent all sorts of things. There's a time and place in history that a flag on a battlefield was the place that we rallied, that we brought together troops, that we focused our force and our ideals to fight for truth, liberty, justice, freedom for all, equality, and freedom of speech. Those values are very important, and the flags represent that. The flag we're going to raise today was at a time and place when our country did not have a flag. We created a flag. Benjamin Franklin created that with his friends and brought it to George Washington to raise here for the first time. This is a significant location in our nation's history. On this spot, on this hill, on that flagpole, remember that. Remember that flag that represents all sorts of things. The red in our current flag symbolizes hardiness and valor. The white symbolizes purity and innocence. And the blue represents vigilance, perseverance, and most importantly today, justice for those things we hold dear. I end with this. Our community is made up of people. Each and every one of you make a difference for all of us. Together, we can do things great. Together, we can create a place where we can raise our children to become better than we are. This is a land of opportunity, and I thank you for never forgetting our history, our heritage, our culture, and our community. Because of you, we are great. We are a great nation with great ideals, and we have a great future. Happy 2024. Thank you.
Thank you, General Rice. Commanders, bring your units to attention and present bombs. And introducing General George Washington. Commanders, bring your units to order arms and parade rest.
Order. Phalanx. Chief Sabers. These arms, last pants, and easy.
We now present the flag to George Washington.
Greetings from the Continental Congress. As the senior commander of Massachusetts Militia present, and on behalf of Benjamin Franklin and the Continental Congress, a new Continental Army of 26 regiments has been created. I travel here today to show support for General George Washington and his new Continental Army. We are highly pleased with the continued improvements of the Army under his leadership. I am fully confident of its success in the future. In behalf of the Second Continental Congress, we hereby present to you our first United Colonies flag, the Great Union. This flag forevermore will symbolize the unity and purpose of the 13 colonies in united support of the new Continental Army. As a new visual symbol of national identity, display this flag at the most visible point for all to see. General?
The hour is fast approaching on which the honor and success of this Army and the safety of our bleeding country depend. Remember, officers and soldiers, that you are free men fighting for the blessings of liberty, that slavery will be your portion if you do not equip yourselves like men. Remember how your courage and spirit have been despised by your cruel invaders, though they have found by their experience at Bunker Hill what a few brave men contending in their own land can do against base hirelings and mercenaries. Every man for himself must resolve to conquer or die, and trusting to the smiles of heaven upon so just a cause, will behave with bravery and resolution. And if this army will bring about a glorious victory and save their country, they will acquire to themselves immortal honor. Raise the Grand Union flag.
Commanders, bring your units to attention.
Shoulder. Fire. To the right about. Face.
Detail. Address the flag to the tower. Massachusetts DPW, raise the flag.
Reset. Art.
The Mayor of Somerville, lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag, United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We're going to finish with two other musical selections. One is a blessing for those of us here in this country, and the other is a blessing for the whole world. Please join me with God Bless America and Let There Be Peace on Earth.
God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with a light from above, from the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home.
And let there be peace on earth.
Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be, with God as our Father, brothers all are we. Let me walk with my brother in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my solemn vow, to take each moment and live each moment with peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me.
Commanders, address your colors.
Happy New Year, everyone. I have a list of acknowledgements to read. We would like to acknowledge the many individuals and businesses whose generous contributions have made this historic event possible, including the staff of the Mayor's Office, Department of Public Works, Police Chief Charles Femino and his staff, Traffic and Parking, Somerville Schools Food Service, Flagographics of Somerville, Dunkin' Donuts on Broadway and Foss Park, Market Basket, Arlington Food Link, Middlesex Country 4-H Fife and Drummer Musicians, Docents, Mary Mangan, Gerald Pierce, Laura Caroline Clairville, Melissa Gay and Victoria Standeven, Ancient and Honorable Artillery Company, Rhode Island and Charlestown militia members, His Majesty's 10th Regiment of Foot, John Koopman, that's George Washington, His Horse Bear from Colchester, Connecticut, participating residents, David Scott, and the invaluable staff at the Somerville Museum, Evelyn Battinelli, Allison Drasner, and Barbara Mangum. Thank you all. Happy New Year.
Commanders, bring your soldiers to attention and dismiss them. Thank you again for coming. God bless America.
And horse, shoulder, firelocks.
Unit commanders, you may dismiss your troops.
To the right about.
Dismissed.
How you doing?
Yes, sir. Sergeant?
Oh, that's come on.